Good evening, one and all. Welcome into Season 3, Episode 11. I believe we're on 141 episodes now overall. It is Victory Polo Tuesday. We have defeated the Giants 44-20 at the weekend. We're now 4-1 and we lead the NFC East. The NFC least no longer, gentlemen. How are we both doing?
Doing very good. Glad that the injury fairy was attacking the Giants and not us this week. Watching two of their players getting carted off must have been doing cartwheels in Dak's head for a bit. But, in the end we prevailed. So
very good. Lauren bringing the fire early. Jamie, can we interrupt you whilst you're watching the England match?
I said last week that it was going to be. It's one of them games, isn't it? And then a divisional game for any team is always going to be one of them tricky ones. Long touched on it about the injuries. It's not nice seeing players get injured like that, especially like say when you see the way that they both came off the field, especially Dan Jones. Like say Barkley's ankle just flared up, didn't it? And Dan Jones looked like you're on a different planet, the poor lad. But yeah, overall happy. But there were a couple of little bits that I'm going to be a bit picky about tonight that I wasn't happy with. But overall, like I say, we're 4-1. So yeah, that hype train is going the right direction.
Absolutely. Before we go any further, Lauren had some bad news for us today. So Lauren, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Yeah, now anybody who's been on the group and conversed with a guy called Nick Gunner, his real name was Nick Bowler. I had news today that he sadly passed away just recently. He'd been on the waiting list for a lung transplant, obviously, and sadly, he's been having infections the last couple of months, which has put everything further and further back. And it just was announced today that unfortunately he's passed away. I worked with Nick many, many years ago on a sort of predecessor to this group, a fanzine called Barry Switzer Ate My Hamster Too. And he and I used to work together running the fantasy competition that we had back in the days before NFL.com and everything. So he and I would spend 2-3 hours on the telephone each week going through all the stats and putting it into a spreadsheet that would generate the results for everybody. And, he'll be greatly missed. He was very opinionated about his Cowboys. Certainly, he would call a spade. No sugarcoating anything. But we had some great debates, and he'll be sadly missed.
Absolutely, and of course, from all of us here at the UK Cowboys family, we'd all like to pass on our condolences. I never met Nick in person, but I do remember him and his interactions with the group over the years I've been involved.
Yeah, just to echo the sentiments there, guys, as well. Yeah, like I say, one of the Cowboys family, sadly. So rest in peace, Nick.
So, I think DJ Dog echoes sentiments of all of us with that thought.
Right, let's make this cheery. Come on.
Okay, so moving along as always, yeah, and as you can see, Andrew and DJ Dog, as always, before this show ever gets live, two guys always light up the comments box. So, as always, folks, send us in your comments, send us in your thoughts, let us know what your studs and duds were from the game, let us know what you thought was good, what was bad, and, interact. Otherwise, we're just three guys talking about a game amongst ourselves. We're nothing without you, the fans, interacting with us. As we always say here, it's about you guys. We're only just talking. So we'll get into the latest injury updates and news. So as you can see there, rolling through the bottom of the screen, there was no new injury news reported Zeke had a funny post on Twitter there about his back, and I think the pylon got the better of him.
It's a good job that pylon is at least covered with some sort of foam and plastic that, you know, you could imagine something like that where it is actually a bit of metal. There is a bit of metal inside that to weigh it down. Now, if you were hitting metal, I don't think he would have come off as well as he did. But just and obviously you've now got cameras in the pylon as well, so that you can see along the line, and the rest can disregard the fact that Dak Prescott scored a touchdown last week against no, it was Philadelphia, wasn't it? That he scored the touchdown against. But I mean, yeah. You know, that was a fairly nasty one. There was a period there where, you know, I think my heart was in my throat at points, because you saw Cooper pull up lame at one point. You saw Zeke. I think you came on the chat and said, "Oh, Zeke's probably done for the night," and then sure enough, he comes in and scores another touchdown later on. So we were very lucky that it wasn't everything was attacking the Giants, I think. So including the yellow flags on Kadarius Toney as well. So
very true, Jamie. I mean, you commented before we came on air in terms of the Daniel Jones incident and Saquon Barkley. You know, I mean, look, we'll be honest and say we're pretty good friends with the UK Giants. They're a good bunch of guys, and we got on very well with them. You know, like, if they'd only look, they'd have no luck at all, nearly, it seems, with the amount of injuries they have at the minute.
Yeah, I mean...
Go on, Jamie.
No, sorry, no, I was just saying, one of my good friends is a Giants fan. I know that's probably really weird saying it. I mean, who wants to be friends with Giants fans? But yeah, and we were messaging throughout the game, and he was like, "We just got no luck." Like saying, and it's just, yeah, it's one of them. Like say, we were rivals for 3 hours, and you never wish an injury upon anybody. But I still, even if those guys would have come back into the game, I was still fully confident that we were gonna beat him. Like I said, Zeke again had a monster day on the ground. He's going week by week, and Dak just. Well, I mean, I don't even think now we need to even speak many words about Dak. If we just say Dak, and that's really the best way to explain it, because he's just. I said it a few weeks ago that he's closed the comeback player of the year competition, because he'd won it for me by week 2.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Giants thought they'd focus on Dak as well. I mean, that sort of gator roll tackle, as Mike's saying.
Yeah.
There was an alligator roll on Dak's ankle by Johnson, one of the defensive linemen. You know, part of it, I suppose, is Dak was holding on to the ball, and obviously threw it away in the end. If he'd probably gone down, you know, the whistle would have gone, but the guy was playing to the whistle. It wasn't an alligator roll in the way that Tristan Hill got fined last year for one, but you know, it certainly looked fairly egregious at the time. I mean, I think I came on the podcast. I came on our wee group chat after Barkley went off. I said that looked like probably his Achilles is maybe gone. They're saying it's not a long-term thing, but I mean that didn't look good. And again, they were saying it was the way he collided with or stood on Jordan Lewis's foot, but I thought the way that he was dragging his foot along the ground as well, that you know, he maybe did something when he was with his trailing foot at one point, because he sort of seemed to drag it along the ground a good 2 or 3 yards as he was trying to make that catch. And I mean, I started that play watching the fact that both Micah Parsons and Saquon Barkley were lined up on the outside to the sideline. I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? You know, at one point I didn't realize it was Barkley. I thought it was Micah Parsons was playing cornerback. I was, I thought that was something quite crazy. But and then the Danny Dimes injury. I mean, that just looked terrible. Obviously, it looked like. Obviously, when it slowed down, there was all this talk of whether it was head to head, but Daniel Jones initiated contact. He was just unlucky with the way it was. I thought it was really good of of Curse, though, that Curse was the first one there to stop him when he was stumbling off the pitch.
I'm going to interject. Let's not forget the hit was by a certain Jabril Cox.
Yeah. Who only played 4 snaps, but those 4 snaps certainly were freed up by the fact that we'd released somebody last week.
Yeah, let's not mention too much on that.
It always scares me when QB comes out of pocket, and especially on those kind of plays.
Yeah,
it's just like say. If that would have been maybe 15, 20 yards down the field, I don't think we'd have seen him jumping head first that way. Especially like you say, with how close the defense, the line is going to be anyway. Someone's going to get him, and he's an athletic kind of guy, but he's never going to outpace a linebacker, someone like Cox's speed. And once he got towards the goal line, there was only going to be one winner. And like you say, he got up, and I think Valenti said it. He literally looked like a boxer had just been knocked out. He got up and he got all over the place. It was awful to see. But live by the sword, die by the sword. Sometimes, as the old saying goes, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and. There was also that incident where Leonard Floyd ripped off. I'm trying to find the comment here. I think it was Tony Pollard's helmet.
Yeah.
What got me most about it was that you actually saw the linemen go after Leonard Floyd. We commented on this last season that there was no aggro with the linemen, or I think it was when Tyron and Zach were both out. That someone went after the quarterback, wasn't it? It was Andy Dalton.
It was Andy Dalton.
None of the linemen.
It was the Washington game, and Dalton got knocked out on that one. And there wasn't any fight between the offense. There wasn't any sort of sticking up for Dalton. They just stood there and looked at him lying on the ground, sort of thing. This time, I mean, it just goes to show about how this team have got each other's back, and I think we posted in the group, there was the quote from Amari Cooper that everybody on this team is, after the same goal. They don't care who gets the plaudits or the 100-yard receiving, the 100-yard rushing. Everybody just wants the team to win, and that's the sort of goal that they've got, and they're gelling on that. And you're seeing it with the fact that they're going into battle for each other.
Yeah. See, I think we I had a quick chat with Mike on the phone before we came on air, and I know one of the big knacks for us, isn't it, is penalties, but there was one in the game. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. When it Terrace Steele, there was one. I can't remember who was on the floor. The Giants D lineman went for. I could be wrong. I say it could be went for Tyron Smith, and Terrence Steele give him a good bashing. And I'm like, now those are the kind of penalties I don't mind taking, because you want to screw a teammate. You want to see a teammate back him up, and he deserved that. So that's one of the kind of penalties I don't mind giving away.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the boys, right?
Yeah.
All girls, because I'm sure that happens in the women's game, because I know the women's game's thriving over here at the minute anyway, and I'm sure some of them get stuck in and all in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure. So it's now becoming a weekly update that we give that Trayvon Diggs has 6 interceptions in his last 5 games, and is the only cornerback in 2021 to have an interception in each game. I believe he now has 10 in his last. It's 8 in his last 10 games, I believe, or 10 in his last 16, or something crazy like that. You know, it's you know, I mean, we're now talking in terms of Diggs being a shutdown corner, and what more can we say?
Where I maybe the other way depends if player of the year.
Yeah,
not even clear.
I mean, the stat you've got to think of is that Trayvon Diggs has more interceptions this season than Deion Sanders has from playing for the Cowboys. In his entire career playing for the Cowboys, Deion only had 5 interceptions, and Diggs has got 6. And I don't know if you've seen the video. The interception this time round was almost a carbon copy. If you go back and look at 1995, the Raiders, the interception that Deion Sanders had in the Raiders, it looks exactly the same, other than it's to the other side of the field. It looks exactly the same as Trayvon Diggs. And Diggs was unlucky that, you know, if he had longer legs, you know, he had another couple of interceptions where Danny Dimes was even just trying to throw the ball out of the sideline. And at one point, you know, Diggs just went up 6 foot in the air, grabbed the ball, and sadly, when he came back down, he was just out. I mean, that could have been another pick. There was another one that he had as well, where I think he got into a tussle with the receiver, and the receiver just did enough to. The receiver actually turned into a defensive back and did enough to break up the ball.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, there's nothing more we can really say about the guy. We've gotten about 20 minutes into the show, so it's time to actually move into the actual talk of the game. So as you can see there, Zeke has a bit of stiffness. Donovan Wilson is still dealing with groin issues. And we did 93,500 in attendance at AT&T at the weekend. There was one thing I just saw. There was a couple of comments on this, and there was just one thing I did want to bring up in terms of the team morale. I don't know if anyone saw the video of over the weekend, or the comments over the weekend, that Mike McCarthy had the brush in at the weekend and spoke about how they needed to protect their home and to go for a sweep across this 3-game period. You know, and as you said, Lauren, in terms of everybody's talking about, we don't care what our numbers are, we just want to win. The attitude out of everybody has just been, it's about the team, no superstars, nothing individual, it's just about winning.
Yep.
But time to move on, and we are going to talk. So, with our wonderful banners provided by Mr. Stewart, offense, gentlemen, what more can we say? This offense put up scores; they put them up quickly, and for me, I think I said this when we were in the game. They were quite sloppy. I think they left 3 to 4 touchdowns on the field on the day.
Yeah, I mean, again, do you know we're the only one at the moment that has scored any points against the Giants in the first quarter this year? And that 3 points that we scored is the only points that the Giants have given up in the first quarter this year. Now, you could say we probably should have had 14 points, because maybe even 21, because you could say that the interception that the Giants linebacker had was just an amazing athletic play. I mean, Dak probably shouldn't have thrown that ball, but you know, just the athleticism to bring that ball down for an interception was incredible. The snap issue with the fumble, actually, if you watch it, and Dak looks away just at the last second, there wasn't really a lot on that particular snap. There wasn't anything wrong with the snap from Biadish. And, and then Dalton Schultz, who was sure-handed the rest of the game, unfortunately just dropped a pass. It was almost a bit like Jackie Smith in Super Bowl 13, that it sort of rolled down his body and onto the floor, and we settled for 3 points. So what got me was last week when I was flying down, I was listening to the pre-game show with Heckma, and the fact that everybody was saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be 35-0, 42-0, and all this," I was thinking, "Oh God, this is a NFC East divisional battle. Anything can happen." And I thought it was going to be close for the first half, and sure enough, it was. And then to see us pull away in the third quarter as we have done this season. It was quite something. So by midway through the third quarter, I was a bit more happy that we were probably on the win for this. But the first half certainly gave me issues.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I kind of commented on it in the group that before the match, everyone was sunshine and roses and 40 burgers, and I was kind of going, this could be a trap game, and Rich had no problem telling me to shut up. But I mean, it does go to show. Look, you just never know what's going to happen in a divisional game, and eventually we pull away. But there are issues there that we need to address.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, one of them is Tyler Biadish. His snaps still haven't been right. I think one of the things, and it was mentioned in Cowboys break yesterday, and I know that all of the offensive line have been working with Duke Manyweather, and I think Duke was actually on Cowboys break today. I see Derek was tweeting about it, but I haven't listened to the show yet. One of the things, it is true that as a centre, you have one hand up in the air, you got one hand on the ball. If you've got a big 300-pound guy like Leonard Williams standing across from you, you've got to get your hands up first of all to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. You've got to get your hands onto the guy in the first place, and it is very difficult when you've got one hand on the ball to then get both hands up and control your guy. And I just wonder if it's guys like the 300-pound lineman that, particularly Williams last year, ran roughshod over our offensive line, even when Joe Looney was in. I just wonder if, that was maybe playing on Biadish's mind, and that caused him to have a couple of problems. There was the false start by everybody apart from the centre, which is really the centre. And I saw there was a couple of issues on where Biadish was pulling, and he obviously didn't take far enough step back and ended up tripping over, I think it was Connor Williams' feet on one of the plays that I think Pollard was stopped for a loss of about 2 yards on. But it's all right when we're playing teams like this, but I mean, obviously we have a few teams that further down the line where we maybe need to look into this. But would you rather? I mean, so far we don't like what we're probably going to get from Connor Williams or what we saw in pre-season from Connor Williams. Could you ask McGovern are they going to be bringing McGovern up?
Yeah,
I like McGovern as a fullback. So
yeah, I mean, Jamie, like I mentioned the name to you to go out and watch this guy, and I think he's top of Dane's centers for the 2022 class. Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. Are we looking at having to draft a center next year?
I think it depends on how the rest of this year goes. I just think, for me, safety's still somewhere where I think is probably just at the shades the top of our needs. But it also wouldn't surprise me that if they potentially looked that way. It's definitely been an unsettled position since Travis Frederick sadly retired. But then you also look at the knock-on effect then, that if he's potentially the top centre, potentially the top lineman in next year's draft, from the way this season's going at the minute, we're not going to be drafting anywhere near the top 5, let alone top 10. So you're then talking about giving up a lot of draft capital, and as we've everyone bangs on about, you build through the draft, especially where this team is looking, where it's more pushing towards a deep playoff run than a rebuild. So I don't want to be giving up draft capital when, like I say, then maybe there's a safety help next year that could help improve this defense a lot more than giving up a lot of to get. So for me, I still think safety for me, but I know I sit here and talk crap every week with you guys. So
well, we know you're well able to talk crap, Jamie. But Yusuf, welcome along into the program. There, it is great to hear that you are tuning in to us, and welcome from Canada for yourself. And also,
I'm not sure if you put it, but I tell you what, though, we all love blowing his own trumpet. But I tell you what, this one definitely from Andy definitely was the trumpet this week. I love it. Come up, I started laughing. I love that one. Talk about blowing his own trumpet. We'll give you that one, pal.
We give it to you. And also, we would like to say welcome in to Andy Robinson, a friend of ours from the UK Giants. Thanks for joining in, Andy. And as he says, how stupid is it for someone to throw a punch? That's someone wearing a helmet.
Did anybody see the slow replay of that as well? And I never caught it during the game. I was the one that was annoying everybody. So like on the Twitter page, and I must have taken away the thing, and I didn't see it until Twitter the day after. But there's an angle from the back of the end zone, and you actually see Tony like pull his glove down, like he's ready for a street fight or some shit. What's this guy doing?
It was almost like one of the guys, you're about to get a body cavity search or whatever. He's pulling on the money gold, and then he goes in for the punch.
Oh, good God. You're likely to get anything here, folks. Talk of marigolds whilst we're talking defensive, offensive football. But as you say, there's Andy coming in again, but really good to see Dak back on the field. And when you're getting a comment like that about how annoyingly good we're looking this season from a divisional rival, that tells you a lot of what you need to know.
Yeah, the same. I think we tweeted as well, and they say we have that rival, but fingers crossed that the injuries that their guys picked up aren't too bad, and we see them back on the field. Because, like I say, even more so, not just in terms of because you don't like to see people injured, but also from a neutral perspective as well. Because when you're trying to get people interested in the game, you want to see the best players on the field, and so you don't want to see backups playing. You want to see the top players. So fingers crossed they make a speedy recovery and they're back on the field soon enough.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Giants' backup running back did come in and get 2 touchdowns.
Hey, that weekend played pretty well and all.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they let a giraffe play in that game.
You know, I'm thick, so and Lorne's got the same look as me, but I think Lorne's twigged what you mean. I ain't got a chuffing clue.
Yeah. Oh god.
Go back and watch the coverage, Jamie. That landed like fart in a spacesuit. But looking at our offensive performance, as we say, Zeke 21 attempts, 110 yards. Again, another 100-yard game. He had a receiving touchdown. He had a running touchdown. You know, I mean, I saw some stats today from RJ, and he was saying that this is the lowest number of snaps Zeke has had since he has joined the league. I think he's had 85 in one other season, but his yards are back up and his touchdown numbers are back up. You know, take it away.
It's quality, not quantity. This year that we seem to be, and the fact that we finished. I think it was 338 yards passing, over 200 yards rushing, 518 yards in total, or something like that. You know, that's and you know, obviously Kellen Moore went back into his a list of exotics as well with a halfback pass that if Wilson had only looked at CD Lamb was streaking down the sideline. I mean, that would have been another touchdown. That could have been a 50 burger that we were eating on Sunday night there. You know, but you know, the fact that he still made the completion to Noah Brown as well, and we were moving the ball, we were able to chew up some time on that drive as well. And salt it away from the Giants, not giving them a chance to get back into the game. This offense very much is pick your own poison, you know, and you got to think of who with Gallup sitting on the sidelines. You know, everybody is stepping up, and you know what's this offense going to be like? I mean, you got to think these personnel people. You know, when this obviously we've heard that. Everybody that's on the IR list is still a couple of weeks away at least, and probably not going to see them before the bye week. Which, you know, obviously, if we say we were the other way around and we were 1-4 or something like that, you'd probably see these guys being activated almost immediately, and we'd be trying to get back up into the season. But because we are up at this point in time, you know, we can take our time and make sure that Gallimore's fully strong when he comes out. Gallup's not going to suffer a relapse. You know, this is just we've got a plethora of weapons at the moment, and you know, it's a luxury that we've got, and we can make the most of this. And when we need these guys later on in the season. You know, that's gonna help us hopefully.
No, this like I said, the offense looks galvanized. Like I say, and I know we've banged the drum quite a bit, and in the latter years of Jason Garrett, it was very predictable. Whereas this offense doesn't seem that. Like you said, Lon, you pick your own poison. It's pretty much everything's working at the minute. I can't remember who tweeted it, so I apologise. And I can't remember the exact wording of it. But after the Broncos, the Bucs game, a lot of people were complaining about how this offense seemed very one-dimensional. And if you actually look at it since, it's been very run-orientated. And I don't mean it in a bad way. It's working, like I say. So he's obviously a very excellent game manager and a planner, and his attention to detail. And it's just, like I say, everyone seems to be on the same page, and there's not. Everyone's, improving week by week, and sometimes that, I suppose it can be hard. Sometimes, kind of, that when a team's on a roll, it's hard to improve it more. But this is even more. I've said it a few times. Tony Pollard's massively impressed me. Looks a different running back this year for me. He's not erratic in his running. He's not. if overly aggressive is the right word, but he's letting players develop. He seems a lot more confident running through the holes. To say he's a slender kind of built running back. And then you've got, do you know what I mean? We'll look at the throw from Wilson. Your team got, if that's no disrespect, if that's someone like the Giants who are struggling at the minute, you don't throw them kind of plays. Team's got a lot of confidence, and they can even have a laugh about it. I think if anybody watched Dak's presser after the game, they were having a laugh and a joke saying that they think that it could have been the sunlight, because I think if he would have looked the other way, I think he said he had CD Lamb wide open, he'd have had him gone.
He had CD down the sideline, but he saw Schultz going up the seam forward.
Yeah.
It just shows that how much confidence is in that building at the minute, and touch wood. We will continue.
And I mean, the one thing you've got to think, you were saying there that everybody was complaining after week one that we were we were one-sided in passing the ball. If you look at the game that the Bucks did lose to the Rams used exactly the same carbon copy of our playbook or our game plan. They were passing the ball, and attacking the fact that or attacking Tampa Bay's secondary, which is weak, and obviously they've gone out and picked up Richard Sherman as a result. So Tom Brady's bringing the old over the hill gang back together all the time. So, but obviously Kellen Moore, again, a couple of kicks by Greg Zerline, and we could be sitting 5-0 at the moment. And if people weren't jumping on the bandwagon as they are now, they certainly would be. Christ would be. Some people would be getting their replica rings made up by now. So if they were 5-0,
it's been a bit of a weirdo season. Because in terms of by the time it gets to this part of the season, there's someone that's really blowing it away. And I know the Cardinals are still undefeated, but they haven't been great every single week. And then you just look at Green Bay. They are not, and I don't mean the kicking, but they looked off it quite a bit on Sunday. I watched a lot of that game on Sunday before ours, and they looked off it. Like saying, a few other teams around that 4-1 mark, and I'm not going to jump on Richie's train just yet. But I'm feeling a lot confident. Like I say, I think we can mix it up with the best of them at the minute. I still think there's a lot more to come from this team. And like I say, we've still got some players to come back. I would hate to have to be the first team to face us when we've got 100% healthy roster.
Very true. Point I did want to kind of come back to, and I've another one on top of that. The comment was made during the match, I think it was by Troy Aikman. It was like, okay, CD Lamb got the first touchdown of the game. What are we going to do next? Oh, they've Amari Cooper there who's done nothing. Oh, suddenly Amari Cooper's getting a touchdown. And it just goes to show the way everything has been spread around the team. And I just saw a comment here yesterday from Jeff Kavanagh. And he was talking in terms of, the pace that the Cowboys are on. So Dak is on pace for just shy of a 5,000-yard season. Zeke is on pace for a 1,500-yard season. Tony Pollard's on pace for an 1,100-yard season. CD Lamb is on pace for just shy of 1,200 yards. Amari just shy of 1,100 yards. And Dalton Schultz, 950. That's the offense you have. Look at how balanced that is. That's where you're going to get yards in games, But I think we do have to give a bit of credit to Kellen Moore for how he's playing the game and spreading it out and using every weapon he has. Like, maybe next week it's Blake Jarwin has a great game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had the number one offense a couple of years ago. it slipped last year because of Dak and the whole issues with the offensive line. This year, again, touchwood, the offensive line is more or less intact. Obviously, we've got concerns about Williams and Biadish, but we're certainly giving Dak enough time to throw the ball. Dak's not made any catastrophic errors with his judgment, and we've not had any pick sixes against us. Thankfully, the pick sixes have been coming for our defense this year. So this offense, and obviously, I think this year as well, we've seen Kellen Moore take a step this year in the. Obviously, we've always criticised him about his red zone offense. The red zone offense, I think this year has been very good. And obviously we're putting the foot in people's necks once we're ahead. It's not a case of sitting back and grounding the ball to try and defend the lead. It's go and attack and build a lead, and then you can. Obviously, the question marks in recent weeks where we've given away cheap touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but that's always going to happen. You just want to make them plug their way down the field and then, salt the time away themselves.
Yeah,
I tell you what, I'm going to disagree with you, but a little bit here. Just in terms of we know that the GM of all over 31 teams tune into this show every week, along with all the other UK Cowboys. With all the UK Cowboys, Kellen Moore doesn't know what he's doing, so don't think of trying to interview him in the he's bloody shit. So.
And Dan Quinn's got no idea as well,
And we're all tweeting the polls.
No.
But yeah, we say I think jump on the back of. I've just seen it popping there. I'm going to apologise for Dalton Schultz because I gave him a heck load of crap at the start of the season, so he wasn't good enough. And these tight ends have, to be fair, you could probably say that the two tight ends have been the most improved players on this roster.
Yeah, and look, I will qualify everything you say about Dalton Schultz. Let's not forget it's his contract year.
See, that's the problem. There's a lot of players.
That is the problem.
A lot of players in the past have done that and not shown up now. So look, Miles Austin did it years ago. He had that massive game, was against the Chiefs, and got a huge contract. Brandon Carr, fair play, he was a decent cornerback anyway. Yeah. But he got the big contract and then just never lived up to that contract. You could
throw Tank in there.
Just what I was going to say. I mean, he's not done it. But then you look on the flip side, and it's happened where people got away. Anthony Hitchens' contract year balled out, got a massive contract with the Chiefs. Byron Jones, potentially, could you really say his last year with the Cowboys was his best year and got a massive deal?
His last two.
Yeah, and got a massive deal from the Dolphins. So, like I say, you've got to tread carefully because you can get burnt, and we've experienced it before.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't pay everybody. It's the unfortunate thing, and no matter what the Cowboys front office do, they will get criticised for it. Well, we elected to pay Jalen and Zeke and keep Lyle Collins around and let Byron Jones go. Maybe if we had kept Byron Jones, we might not have a certain number 7 on our roster. Mm-hmm. And who knows where Trayvon Diggs would be. But just before we finish up on the offense, I do want to bring this again. Andy from the UK Giants does make a great point here that Dak has worked hard on being a pocket passer rather than scrambling. And, I think it's a very good point. I think it's also a little bit of self-preservation in that he's not running at people as much now anymore.
It seems as, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, like I've watched it, it seems like it's coming a lot more easier to him. I know that probably sounds stupid coming from someone who's not stepped on the field as a quarterback, but if you know what I mean, like sometimes you see like we have to think about it, and sometimes they're putting a lot of effort into making these big plays. But like, there's a couple of the players, and it's like he's not intimate. I mean, it looks too easy to him, and I mean that in the greatest of respects. I say just because of how obviously this team are playing so well. Like I say that when there's this kind of rapport around the building, everything I guess looks and seems a lot easier to do, and it looks effortless. Sometimes that's probably the best word. It looks effortless.
Yeah, it does. So before we move on to the defensive side of the ball, we've got to pay our bills around these parts. So, gentlemen, if one of you would like to take it away.
I thought we were going to do it. But yeah,
go on, Jamie.
If anybody's thinking of going out to watch the Cowboys this year, next year, or whenever, make sure you check out our good friends at Cowboys Experience for meet and greet, tailgating. They've got game day packages. We know Paul's been on a few times, and he's going out in a few weeks, and he's going to be using them again. I've personally used them, as Warren has, and I know Ivan, and there's quite a few, and Mike, and quite a few others have used them. And we're not saying that just because they're our sponsors. That if anybody came over 2014 and met Barry, absolutely top guy. He's a really good friend to us all. It's if you want to announce, it's sometimes it's a. I mean, it's a lot to save up to get over there. And if you're going to do it, make sure you check these guys out. When we had we met Drew Pearson, cheerleaders, I think, and also get to experience a bit of the tailgate in a different way with different fans. So definitely check it out. And as it says there, use the voucher code, the code UK Cowboys, and you'll get free stuff. And what does Rich like to say, guys, about free stuff?
Go on, Lord.
Yeah. Don't be a clown. Use the code. Get free stuff.
See, I think we need a thing for this, because I didn't do it as good as Paul. So Paul, next time Paul's not in, he should come on, just do like a. He needs to do a thing, doesn't he?
We need a Mickey Spagnola card that we can just read off and just.
Yeah, I did it crap, so I'm not doing it again.
It's true. So
cheers, bro.
As we always say, look, make sure and follow Cowboys Experience. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. The pictures from this weekend's events were great. I know they had Michael Gallup there at the meet and greet, and Micah Parsons dropped in at the end of the meet and greet. So that's the people you're meeting. You're meeting current players. You're meeting former players. You meet everybody.
Sorry to jump in, just to quickly say from when we went, it was during this whole, where they were doing all the dabbing and all that kind of stuff, and the what is it, like the mannequin challenge, that was it. And we'd gone on the Sunday before the game, and there was me, Lauren, Sam, and there were a couple of my friends, Chad and Callan were there. We were talking to Barry, and next thing somebody come over and says, "Oh, let's do this mannequin challenge for their website." And then as we were doing it, next thing Drew Pearson just jumps in the middle of it and does the mannequin challenge. And so that's kind of the crazy stuff that they get up to. So can't speak highly enough.
Absolutely. And as always, folks, we've made reference to a few of these people tonight, but make sure and follow the other content creators and the Cowboys' own media team, the guys on the break and talking Cowboys, hanging with the boys, the guys over at 105.3 The Fan, and Kevin Turner from KT's Fun Tweets. And then also our fellow content providers, see if the likes of Bluff City Cowboys, Big Game James, Jay Tuck, who I was talking to earlier, FB Nation, and of course the guys over at Blogging the Boys. Every one of them is a mine of information. We talk to these guys all the time. They have great time for us and great time for all of you as fans as well. And anytime we talk to them, they can't help but be blown away by what you guys as fans do. So without further ado, then it is time to move over. Jamie has been patiently waiting for this moment all show, and I am going to throw the floor open to him.
Defense pissed me off a little bit this week, I'm not going to lie. I know it was I mentioned touching it before, it was a divisional game, but yeah. The defense got burned for nearly 200 yards in the air by Kadarius Toney. He averaged almost 19 yards a catch. And yeah, he's a good player. He's a dynamic player. But come on. Can't be getting burned for 200 yards like that. That was the one thing that pissed me off with the defense this week. It was a bit
it was a bit of fits and starts. I mean, there was a stat at one point, just not too much before Danny Dimes went out, but Danny Dimes had completed 1 of 9 passes. I think going through the midway through the second quarter. So for him to then come on, and obviously Kadarius Toney was probably the only person that was healthy by the end of the game, albeit he was sitting on the sidelines because he'd thrown the punch that got himself ejected. Golladay went down on the interception that Trayvon Diggs had. And then anytime you're bringing in somebody like Glennon, who has been on I think this is his 6th team in 6 years that he's on, that the defense should be able to. But again, this is only the second game where Cowboys have been held without a sack as well, albeit there was a hell of a lot of holding on Randy Gregory, I thought, throughout the game. And, the rest just weren't calling it half the time. This should have been, this should have been a multi-sack game. Certainly Glennon and Jones were being flushed out of the pocket a lot of the time. The pressure was there. We were just a step too late getting somebody like Daniel Jones is always going to get the ball out now. He's obviously he's in his 4th year in the league. And he's learned that you're better throwing the ball away than you are going for it all downfield in a last gasp poke each time you're throwing the ball. So some of the catches I think that Kadarius Toney had, I mean, it was basically he was out muscling. Funnily enough, he was out muscling our cornerbacks. A lot of them were jump balls, and it was just a case he was getting up higher and making the catch, and knocking guys like Jay Lou, Anthony Brown, and Trayvon Diggs out of the way. So when you probably are the centerpiece of the offense, there are going to be passes, but probably shouldn't have given up 10 catches and 189 yards.
And that's what, to me, it was like that proves that Tony's one of them dynamic wide receivers. It was fun to watch in Florida, and like I say, but if the team has got aspirations of making it to the Super Bowl, they can't be allowing that many yards. Like I say, even if it's a throw for a yard and he's gaining 10, 12, 15 yards on the run after. Can't be letting someone burn you like that for that many yards. That's just, and like I say, especially more so when he's the when he obviously became the focal point of that offense, just for the fact that they had that many injuries. So I mean, double team him, I don't know, do whatever, but don't be getting burnt for near 200 yards.
Yeah. It's great to see that people are still with us, and the comments have been flying in since we flipped over to the defense. As we said, Andy did make the point, and thanks, Andy, for staying with us thus far. And don't be afraid to send in comments and thoughts, and we'll put them up here. But he's made the point, and DJ Dog have made the point, is that Tony made a lot of yards after the catch. and you brought it up yourself, Jamie. I mean, one of my main gripes with the corners is that they're playing deeper and they're not playing press man against the corner or against the opposing wide receivers. Is that a Dan Quinn thing, or is that just a player thing for you guys?
I think it's probably a Dan Quinn thing. I mean, obviously we are still playing zone, and a cover three zone is going to, obviously there are going to be gaps where you can catch the ball, but conversely, you know, our defensive backs are playing with their eyes facing the quarterback, so you are getting to see a lot of interceptions where, you know, guys like Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs are breaking on the ball because they can see the ball coming out, rather than having with Garrett and Marinelli. It was more a case of, you know, stay with your man, play your man, make the let him catch the ball. Don't gamble and go for the interception and, you know, end up having them score a 70-yard TD because you're the last man there. So we probably are being a bit more aggressive this year, and as a result, you know, we are going to give up catches like that, and you know, we are going to be, especially, you know, the fact that they were forced to pass to try and get themselves back into this game. I mean, every single game this season, you know, we've got jumped out to a lead in the third quarter, and it's been a case of somebody having to try and pass their way back to get it back into the game. And that's when you're going to give up the yards, because again, as we say, we're giving up the zones. We're trying to make them march down the field, stay in bounds, keep the clock running, and, you know, that's going to help us. And I think that's why we're giving up so many yards passing. But it's the fact that we're getting the takeaways that you know, this is an opportunistic defense, and this is why we are winning these games, to be honest.
Yeah, like it seems to be the opposite of what we were at last season. Is that we're building that early lead, extending it, and then teams are having to try and come back at us. They have to then throw the ball because the clock is against them, and that's where interceptions come from. That's where pick sixes have come from. But I do want to bring this up, and again, Andy, great question. Was our familiarity with Jason Garrett an Achilles heel for the Giants at the weekend?
I think there's enough that, yes, we probably know a lot of his tendencies, but I mean, Garrett hasn't been calling plays since, 2013, 2014 or so, when, what was his name? The guy that, Sean
Payton?
No,
Sean Payton was Parcells.
No, who was the guy that brought Kellen Moore from Detroit?
Scott Linehan.
Scott Linehan, that was it. Sorry. Scott Linehan's been calling plays. I mean, you could even go back and say it was when Bill Callahan was calling plays as well. You know, Garrett had actually removed himself from a lot of the play calling. Yes, it was his offense, but you know, he'd removed himself from the play calling responsibilities. He was being a consultant with that. I thought you saw a lot. Thought you saw a lot from Garrett's offense this time round that we probably haven't seen in the last few years. And you know, again, if you go by his sort of ingenuity, you know, yes, he maybe doesn't have the players to actually put his game plan into action, but his ingenuity with plays is actually probably going to get him a few looks again, potentially for jobs coming up. You know, you can always say guys like Wade Phillips and all that, they probably have a better scope of things as a coordinator, and when they go to being a head coach, that's when the failings start coming in. I think Garrett has probably proved again that he has the ability to be a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Just a point I do want to bring up here. DJ Dog has made it very well. We had one goal line stand, and the first rushing touchdown that the Giants got seemed to catch us unawares and caught the referees unawares, and they seemed to allow it. How good has our defensive line linebacking core been this season? Because they seem to be making a lot of goal line stands, and like that, as we talked about earlier with Jabril Cox, the pace that he has makes him a good goal line defender.
I think we've seen a few times that when I suppose one that maybe stands out is the other year the shootout between Peyton Manning and Tony Romo when Peyton pulled the ball and he managed to run the ball into the corner himself and going untouched. Now, that's what, to me, the goal line defense was for a few years. But like I say, and now is it because last year was an awkward year, wasn't it, in terms of not a lot of prep in terms of camp because of obviously what's going on in the world at the minute, and they've had more of that, and also just the confidence in playing. Are they more confident in playing in this style of defense? Because everyone knows that they might know what can sometimes be misconstrued as a hard defense to play and to learn, whereas this one seems not I say basic in the polite sense in terms of it's literally this is what you got to do. Stop the pass. Let's not make it complicated. And like I said, a lot of the times they're not getting fooled on some of these players, and I feel a lot confident in that red zone defense than we have over the last few years for definite.
Yeah. So, Lauren, as a former defensive lineman, we've seen a few comments there coming in about also Diggy Zoo, and we've kind of given Trayvon Diggs a lot of credit, and we've given Micah Parsons a lot of credit in recent weeks, but also Diggy Zoo has been playing lights out.
Yeah, I think Osa has been playing lights out. I mean, if he would be certainly our defensive rookie of the year for the team if it wasn't for the fact that you got Micah Parsons. I think Golston, for somebody who didn't have a training camp, I thought Golston has come on in the last couple of weeks since he's been activated. He's been a bit of a revelation. He's been getting around the ball, and because of that, you're seeing guys like Basham and Gregory's picking up the double teams a lot of the time, and that's freeing everybody else up. This team, but the fact is that they're coordinated in the way that they're rushing the quarterback. They're not just all going hell for leather and trying to get to a point. It's you go at this level, I'll go at this level, so it doesn't give him an alleyway to get out of the pocket and scramble. They're being quite good at when teams are running option runs. They're able to disguise whether they're staying at home or coming after the quarterback if the quarterback pulls the ball down and drags it, tries to run it as well. What we're getting from these young players and the free agents that have been brought in that haven't a clue with Dan Quinn's scheme prior to this. Dan Quinn's waving a magic wand, and we're getting production from everywhere. Again, for as many people that we have on the offensive side of the ball who are sitting on IR, we've got just as many sitting on the defensive side of the ball. who would have thought that when we heard that Tank Lawrence had gone down with a broken foot? Who would have thought that our defense would been stopping the run as much as we have, getting as much pressure as we've had? Even that week where you had Lawrence off and you had Galloway in COVID protocol, and you're thinking, who the hell are we going to rush the quarterback? The fact that you had somebody like Parsons who can be a factor for the defense, and saying, oh God, he's lined up at defensive end this time, and oh no, he's a linebacker this time. That's just creating uncertainty with the offense, and they're having to change plays just based on where he's lined up.
You know what? You took the words right out of my mouth, Lauren. To be fair, I was gonna say, if it weren't for Parsons, do you think he could potentially would be the defensive player of the year for us? And I don't think you can put it any more perfect. I'd say he's, and we all know Paul's love for him. I'm not saying that none of us don't, because we do, but like I say, it's just. It's good to see these, because especially with how much we've needed play at a high level from that position for a couple of years, and he seems to have thrived on that pressure, and say all the time, though, that you need to grab the bull by the horn sometimes and take the opportunity, and he's certainly taken that, and like I said. This could, in terms of could see this being like another kind of Trayvon Diggs kind of thing, where he absolutely balls out his rookie year, and then you see him take a massive step next year. I know that's putting a lot of pressure on him, but I just think that's the way he's playing. Like I say, the sky's the limit, and especially like I say, in a tough position that we've struggled at, and we've had some decent players play there over the last couple of years. He's definitely making it his own, and won't want to line up against him.
Yeah, and I think we have had a few unsung free agents come in this year in Brent Urban, Carlos Watkins, and Terrell Basham, who have all added something in their own sub packages. That they've allowed these guys to shine. Whilst they've kept quietly doing what they're doing. It's that next man up. It's everybody is contributing and adding something to the party. I think for me the best thing is to see that the pocket is actually going backwards, and runs are not coming down too heavily on top of us, which we've lacked for years.
This is why I love the Urban pickup, and like I say, just. His stats don't jump out off the page for someone who plays that position, but there's not a massive amount of tape on him as well. But if you look back, especially from his time with the Bears, the snaps that he gets, he causes pressure, like you say. So you get someone up the middle like that, causing a lot of pressure. It makes it a lot easier for the linebackers to get through and do their job, the ends to get out and be able to do their job. You see. I love that. I absolutely love that pickup. Probably, if anything, my favourite pickup, free agents wise, anyway, this off season.
Yeah, and before he was with the Bears, he was with Baltimore, and Baltimore had the number one defense that year as well. So, obviously, if he was contributing to that defense in an unsung manner, he's obviously been doing the job there. Generally, these both offensive and defensive linemen, the only time you hear about them is when they've messed up, they've gone in, they've drawn a penalty, they've jumped offside, something like that, or they've done something fantastic where they've got the sack. But guys like Urban, they're more likely to be your run stuffer, let everybody sort of flow to the ball. Yes, they'll get their plaudits at some point, but you can bet these guys are probably, when it comes to the players voting for Pro Bowl players, these will be the guys. lining up against Urban every week. That's some prospect. It won't be the flashy guys that, when the fans do it and the fans are looking and they go, right, he's got 15 sacks already at week 6. I'm going to vote for him for the Pro Bowl. It's going to be the ones that are giving them a hard time during the game that get the players' votes.
Yeah. Before we do move on, obviously, shout out again to Andy. He's departed the building. And of course, we would love to wish the Giants well for the rest of the season. As much as this is a Cowboys podcast, we will welcome fans of any team into this. We'll even invite fans of that team from Pennsylvania in if they really want to watch it along with us. But
yeah, to be fair, we've got a comedy night coming up, haven't we? Really, so they can join in if they want.
We had a comedy night 2 weeks ago. but in terms of the pressure that the defensive front seven are putting on, and I'm including the linebackers in that, and Parsons and Keanu Neal and Van Der Esch now working together as well. It really is allowing the back end of our defense to flourish, as we've seen. I've been critical about the space they've given up, but you can see why they're allowing that. And the pressure that's coming on from the front seven seems to be allowing those guys to play and ball hawk. Is that just me, or is that your own thoughts as well, gents?
No, entirely. I mean, we're seeing packages where you've got three safeties on, where you've got Curse, Hooker, KZ all on the field, and they're running rampant over it. Invariably when there's been tackles for loss, short gains on runs, you'll see that it's Hooker coming up, and closely followed by KZ or Curse. Curse is taking away most of the tight ends. So he's becoming a bit of a tight end killer on this game.
Yes.
It's amazing again, because we're not having to commit slide blitzes where we're sending these safeties up and almost going to what you'd class as zero coverage, where everybody's man on man, and we're overloading the offensive line. We're not having to do that, so we are getting pressure from our front seven, and that's allowing us to have these guys in the back patrolling and limiting anything that we're giving up.
Yeah. And speaking of that three safety set, and I was having fun with Heckma on the pre-game show about saying the safety play hasn't been good for a couple of years. I mean, it is great to see that all three are adding something. They're sprinkling in their own little bit of dust. And Jamie, you commented earlier and you said, I want a safety. I'm on record last year saying I wanted Malik Hooker, and week by week Hooker seems to be improving. Kazee and Curse are putting in huge numbers as well. I mean, what is the future of the safety position at the Dallas Cowboys?
With the contracts that these guys have come in on, I think it's hard to say it, just for the fact that I think all three of them are combined for less than $1 million.
Yeah.
The way that they're playing at the minute, it's probably hard to see all three of them coming back. Which ones you would have back? I mean, it's potluck in terms of, I was with you, Brian. I wanted Hooker in the off season, but we're sadly going to lose at least one of them unless they're willing to take a kind of a cut price deal again. I think just with how this defense is settling and finding its way, I don't see, even if them guys leave, I don't see us taking a step back. I think we've got the right setup now. The front office is definitely heed feedback got the guys in that Dan Quinn knows can succeed in his style. I'd love to see him come back. I'd love again, and I said it earlier. I'd love to see his draft to safety, fairly high.
Yeah.
Just because there's some decent ones coming out this year. Fingers crossed, Jerry can work his own magic and he can charm them back in for at least another year. Especially if we get close as well. I think if we get close, then it'd be nice to see us being able to do what Tampa Bay did this year and bring majority of this or at least the starting 22 back next year anyway.
Yeah. Lauren, have you anything to add on that, or?
No. I mean, the one thing you can say is obviously you got Mukuamu sitting in the wings, learning this year. We're not having to rely on him coming on to play. He'll be getting all the mental reps. Potentially, he'll be able to step into one of these guys' shoes next year. But I mean, Stephen Jones must be having fits at the moment because obviously we saved a little bit by there not being any shenanigans with Jalen Smith next year that would put us on the hook for 9.2 over and above what he is at the moment. Yes, there's 6.8 going to be on the dead cap for next year, just the remainder of his signing bonus for the next 3 years. But potentially that's saving us some money next year as well. And but Stephen should be sitting at this going, right, who the hell do we keep? How much is it going to cost us? Are we going to be able to get under the cap? But what I would say, I think we struck gold the last couple of years with our draft picks. If that's a signal that our college scouting is improving, then we should be able to bring guys in, and we should be able to almost adopt the approach that Belichick has, where you basically line up, you use the guys as long as they have a value to you. As soon as you can see what their weaknesses are, if that doesn't gel with your team, you cast them off, and you get what you can for them. So we seem to do well with a lot of the compensation picks that we get when these guys sign their big contracts. So if they go off and make a 13-14 million a season elsewhere, that'll get us a third round pick. And it helps us move forward.
I think as well, just we saying that, I think the Jabril Cox pick kind of, you get some of maybe the disappointment, so to speak, of losing Jalen Smith just for the fact that how on earth he was there. Like you say, he was late first, early to mid second round grade on his thing. And if he's there, I think we'd look at potentially drafting another defensive back or even someone on the defensive line again. So and like I say, I think the way that he's come on, he's not had a massive amount of snaps, but I think there was a lot of that injury guarantee for next year that would have made a lot of people. I think also the way that Cox has chomped at the bit a little bit and made some big plays has definitely made the Cowboys a lot more comfortable in making that cut. I would have personally, I thought it might have been Van Der Esch. In a way, a little bit surprised it was Jalen Smith. I thought what I say would have been a two, but it is what it is. And I think, like you said, the money side of it does help. And I said that's what hopefully Van Der Esch doesn't command a ton of money.
Yeah,
his play over the last few years certainly hasn't backed that up. But you never know. Like I say, this style of defense seems to suit him a little bit better than the ones he's played previously. So maybe the Cowboys can talk him in, taking a bit more of a team-friendly deal coming up to next year.
Yeah. I think between myself and Lauren and Graham, we all seem to be big cap guys. So it's definitely something that we're open to talking with Stephen Jones about and helping him out with that situation. But guys, we're nearly an hour and 25 minutes into things, and it's time for us to get out of here. So before we finish up, anything else during the game you want to bring up? But Jamie, I know you have one other thing to bring up, so we'll throw it to you after that.
Yeah, cool. No worries. It just came to my mind then, sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Jamie, go ahead and throw that out there.
Oh, yeah, no, just if anybody's wanting to go to we're in round 2 out of London this week. I'm sure it's round 2 this week, isn't it, for the London games?
Yeah.
It's the
Miami
Jaguars.
Dolphins, that's it. Our friend over at the Cowboys fan group from Spain, if you go over to Twitter, it's Spain Cowboys. He's got a couple of tickets available this week. So if you drop him a line or drop us a DM on Twitter, we'll put you in contact with him. We've had quite a bit of dealings with him. Guy seems a legit guy, and he says that he's got media passes now for this weekend, so he's going to make his tickets available. So he's in and around London. So just hit one of the guys up, or just hit us up on Twitter, and we'll put you his way.
Just breaking news that I'm seeing just came through on an ESPN alert. The NFL Players Association plans to request the league release the rest of the 650,000 emails reviewed as part of the Washington football team investigation. So, interesting times. Obviously, we had Chucky resigned last night, and things have not been rosy in the garden up in Washington either. So, interesting times ahead. But
yeah,
as always, go on.
I was just going to say, just like that, all this stuff coming out, and it just, and I'm not in any way condoning kind of anything. So like the Gruden stuff, the Deshaun Watson stuff, that kind of thing. But it's just like these players and these coaches and these front office staff and etc. It's essentially the biggest game in the States, and why that they feel like that some of this behaviour is going to go unnoticed. Someone is going to come out, or someone is going to have a camera or a recorder somewhere, and is going to catch them out. I say, don't condone it, but just be a decent human being and just don't act like a dick. I mean, because it's gonna come out, like you say. And then, like, I've just seen a tweet just where you're saying it. Someone has, I can't remember where it is, but the kicker that the Raiders drafted a couple of years ago. They drafted him pretty high. Was it King? Off the top of my head, was it
Marquette King?
Yeah.
No, he's punter.
Sorry, punter. Yeah, but they drafted him pretty high, didn't they? And someone's quote tweeted a tweet. Somebody that follows the Cowboys fan group. And he was quoted when they cut him, saying that Gruden cut him because of his character. Well, pot calling the kettle there.
Oh,
I mean, just be a decent human being. Don't be a dick. They're getting paid millions and millions of pounds for essentially playing. Oh, sorry, for doing their hobby. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. But one good thing to see coming out of that was the interim head coach announcement for Rich Bisaccia. He was very highly regarded within the Dallas Cowboys organization, so it's good to see one of our former employees getting a chance somewhere else in the league.
Yep. What I thought was funny tonight is that my copy of Gridiron magazine arrived, and for month 1 they've actually got Gruden as coach of the month. So that'll be getting changed this next month, I'm sure. But
very true. So before we get out of here again, Lauren, if you want to give the shout out this time.
Right. Okay. So obviously the alleyways to USA are now open or should be open within the next month. So if you're looking at going for a game this year or next year, get in touch with Cowboys Experience with meet and greets, tailgate, game day packages, much, much more. These guys will look after you, and use the code UK Cowboys and you'll get free stuff.
And chocolate pudding.
And chocolate pudding.
Mind you, after Rich's winnings the last week, it's chocolate gâteau now, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's Marks and Sparks chocolate gâteau, is it?
Yes.
Very posh. Very posh. And as we say, again, shout out to all of our fellow content creators there. So you have Neil Reynolds, Dallas Cowboys for Life, Stashman, Silver and Blue Nation, Jeff Reinebold. Give all of those guys a follow, and girls, of course. Sorry, I always say that, and I need to remember there are plenty of girls involved in this as well. So give them all a follow. You will not be disappointed. Their content is amazing. Thursday night, 9 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in with Mike and the rest of the team as they preview the game with the New England Patriots coming up this weekend in Connecticut. That is 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock Texas time, 1 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. It's a goodbye from me anyway, gents. And
yeah, and it's goodbye from me. Might see you on Thursday night. I don't know.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Have a safe rest of the week and roll on Sunday.
And hook 'em. Good night, everybody.